We are in the exhibit space at the Harriet Tubman Underground Railroad Visitor Center in the Harriet Tubman Underground Railroad State Park on the Harriet Tubman Underground Railroad All-American Road Byway and headquarters to the National Park Service's Harriet Tubman Underground Railroad National Historical Park in Maryland. So, and of course, home to the headquarters of the National Underground Railroad Network to Freedom program. So this is really a place that's a vortex of Underground Railroad knowledge and energy.
When we first started, how many people told us, nah?
Well, they certainly, it was so how are you going to do that? And the money and the this and the that. And if there's anything that we've learned from our Network to Freedom stakeholders statewide is where there is a will, there is a way. It's interesting now because people come here and we get phone calls and emails today and they say to us, you know, tell us how you built your visitor center. And when we tell them that it was more than a generation in the making, it's hard for them to believe because when they pull up here, they see this amazing facility and they think it kind of just happened. But it didn't. When we began our initiative 25 years ago, we started with several things that were happening that were really helpful. There was legislation before Congress that had been amended to study not only Underground Railroad sites in New York and South Carolina, but also amended to study them here in Maryland. The Network to Freedom was newly established, and at the time, we had a driving tour here called the Underground Railroad Trail. And those three things coming together, and then really our stakeholder constituency saying to us, it's really time for the state of Maryland to step in and take a more of a leadership role in getting this story told statewide. You know, we work for them. Yeah, and that was really something that the constituency was adamant about from the beginning, was that if we were going to endeavor into an initiative that helps to tell the story of the Underground Railroad, that we needed to be truthful, we needed to be authentic. We knew visitors demanded it, and it was really great that on the ground, our stakeholders also had that same demand, approach, philosophy, whatever it might be.
And one of the things that I found helpful with the foundation of the Network to Freedom was the authentication of the storytelling of, you know, not the, you know, as we've gone through and learning of so many of these stories of, you know, what becomes truth because it's often retold, and being able to have that authentication so that when we went out to market, it wasn't our office saying, well, this is truth.
Right.
We had the ability through scholarship to be able to find out what that meant and how we could authentically share that story with our visitors.
To have a place to learn and experience of those things that can also be somewhat meditative and healing is not only what the visitor center does here, but what the grounds around here do as well. There's a nice walking trail that connects to the Blackwater National Wildlife Refuge, where you get this essence of Tubman's Chesapeake as you traverse through it. It also is a place where people can learn not only about the 125-mile driving tour that's the Harriet Tubman Underground Railroad Byway here in Maryland, but also our connection into Delaware, because that's where Tubman went, and currently all the way up to Philadelphia, where she encountered William Still and really felt then that she had made it into freedom. And there's certainly a ripple effect beyond the tangible benefits that tourism brings. We tend to be measured in ways that talk about economic impact, but there's certainly a community impact, there's an environmental impact, and that ripple effect that begins with the Network to Freedom as the center and then works its way out. We now have a program that's called the Chesapeake Through Tubman's Eyes. And to be able to inform people that the Chesapeake isn't just a body of water, but there's all of this cultural, historic stories hidden in it and around it, allows us to put more of a spotlight on the value of the Chesapeake Bay itself.
When I think about some of the towns where there are sites that have been associated with the Network to Freedom, and watching those storefronts become filled, one of those moments that make you smile is we were out in the landscape and there was this person sitting in their car with the doors open because it was warm weather, and they had our collateral piece in their hand. And because I have this tendency to be overly enthusiastic, I ran up to her car and said to her, "How did you get here?" And they were on their way from Virginia to New York, stopped at an affiliate center on the Eastern Shore and picked up our materials and changed their travel plans.
Frequent that as we sit around a table as our staff collective and we hear the numbers of how consumers are responding to our information, our collateral experiences, and the visitor experience here in Maryland. And it's often we hear a wow, because the consumer response, the visitor response to this always seems to be very close to the top of just about everything we do. Yeah, that the Tubman Visitor Center and the Tubman Byway, both members of the Network to Freedom, can be a model that others around the country can emulate is really important to us, because our knowledge, if we contain it here, only goes so far. And so if there are other entities out there that want to hear from us on how we did this, call us, email us, ask us. We want to share our information with you. We're stronger together as the network continues to grow around the country and hopefully internationally here soon. And we want to make sure that everybody knows that we are a resource, and obviously we're willing to talk if people want to ask us to share what we know.